Hey everyone, how's it going? So on my channel, in the 2.5, 3 years I've been running this channel now, I have harped on bad musicians, bad experiences I've had with bands, and what not to do if you're a band, go into a venue or go into a studio. And a lot of you have been commenting over the years, going like, well, cool, but do sound guys next. And that's exactly what we're gonna do with this video. So let's talk about the first tier of this. I believe I said level 1 tier with the musicians video was novice, I think. So let's start with novice. A novice sound engineer. Let's start with the pros because there's not a whole lot of them. A pro of a novice sound engineer, chances are the novice sound engineer, even though he or she doesn't have a lot of experience, or this is like their first or second show ever working, a novice sound engineer will at least put some effort into doing a decent job. Like, there are a lot of times when I first started out, there were times where I was asking the same question 3 times over because I was a nervous wreck. The band knew, so the band was already like off with the venue and what I was gonna do. Like, I remember the first couple of shows I worked solo at Dingbats, and I was there like to be, the sole sound person there. Now, this is a time when I haven't been doing sound for, I'd say, 2.5, 3 years because of COVID. So I'm rusty and I'm nervous about being rusty for doing sound. So this was the first couple shows there, I was nervous and I acted like a rookie where I didn't know anything about EQ, compression, all of that shit, because I was still not familiar with Dingbats's system, routing from the board to the PA, how everything was routed. This is before we upgrade to the baseball system that they have there now. So the equipment was not the best, so I had to do a lot of drastic things with my mixes in order to get the sound passable in the venue. So a novice sound engineer may show some effort, but in the end, the skills just don't cut it. You're probably going to have a very bad time with the sound engineer who is a novice. Chances are, if you're playing a bar or basically, if you're like a cover band, for instance, and you're playing your local pub and tavern, and a sound guy that they hired, like off Craigslist or whatever, comes in, or it's one of the bartenders that's usually the sound guy too, chances are you have just a couple of small speakers, a little tiny Mackie board, and enough microphones to just maybe cover the vocals. Yeah, you're going to be tight on stage. You're not going to be able to hear everyone clearly. There's no monitors. And that poor sound engineer it's just not equipped to deal with a full band. So that's usually the case with most small pubs and taverns that hire a band to just come in and play one night. Here's the best way to tell if you're gonna walk into a level 1 or level 2 sound guy. Look at photos of the venue that you're playing at. See if you can see videos of bands performance so you can hear a mix. If you can't hear a mix, feel free to ask the venue what equipment they have, and ask if you can be put in touch with the sound guy so you can send a stage plot. Trust us, as sound guys, we fucking love stage plots. The more stage plots you send us, the easier it'll be for us to do our job and not ask you guys 20 questions as to where shit goes. I cannot tell you how many times I have asked even touring bands where their shit goes because I wasn't given a stage plot, to which that pissed them off because their manager never forwarded their stage plot to me in the venue. So there's lack of communication. It sucks. I hate it. It is one of the single biggest show killers in the world. But anyways, if you as a band have a stage plot and you have set arrangements, even if you don't have a stage plot, make one and ask the bar, ask the venue if you could be put in touch with the sound guy, or message the venue to say, hey, please transfer this to the sound guy. Send them your stage plot and see if the sound guy responds. If you are able to email the sound guy directly and just ask a couple of basic questions, judge them based on their response. That's usually a pretty good determining factor. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten emails from bands or texts from the bands before a show, and they're like, okay, what speakers you got? How do you usually have the stuff set up? Here's our stage plot. Do you think you can handle this? No problem. And we go, and then it's a great show. So I start out with pros to be nice with the novice sound engineers. Let's start out with the cons of the amateur engineers. One is always going to be experience. Chances are, if you are a band that has particularly a large amount of vocalists, vocals can be pretty difficult on a small stage to mix. So a good sound guy will be able to mix all of your vocals, no problem, no feedback, and you'll be able to have smooth sailing experience with that person. An amateur will struggle with feedback. Now, I say that, you guys have seen a bunch of streams of mine where there are some times where even I struggle with feedback on stage if a band has 4 or 5 different vocals. Because as much as I want to say, it's the band's fault for having singers that mumble, and this is their singing voice, and la-da-dee, la-da-da, instead of just projecting their vocals properly, ultimately, it does come down to me if you guys sound good on stage or not. And if your singer is a bit of a mumbler, if your singer sometimes sings very low, a good sound guy will compensate with the rest of the band, turn it down in the mains, maybe push the master fader up to compensate for lowering the rest of the band, or the sound guy will be able to EQ differently so that you can get the volume you need in your vocal without causing feedback. Dealing with feedback is probably the greatest determining factor of whether you have a good sound guy on you or not. I cannot tell you how many times I've had touring engineers come into dingbats and I watch them during sound check. They are loud as hell, way louder than they should be, and there is nothing but feedback on stage. And I have the touring sound engineer the audacity to say, oh, this venue sucks. Again, going back to being likable and easy to work with. I almost want to jump in and be like, yeah, I have no problem not getting feedback in this place. I don't know why you seem to be having a problem. So in general, a amateur sound guy will encounter feedback and be essentially a deer in headlights. But a very strong pro for an amateur sound guy is they'll try and they will put in a conscious effort and they will do everything they can to try and give you what you need on stage. They're just limited by the lack of skills that they have. That brings me to tier number 3, which is a good sound guy. And if you're working small venues and bars, these are the type of sound guys that you will beg to encounter. If I'm judging myself, I'm probably at level 3 versus level 4, and I'll explain why later on. But a good sound guy still makes mistakes. We all do. No one's perfect. Even the best sound guys in the world make mistakes. But the good sound guys, when they make a mistake, they learn from it. They never make the same mistake twice. They always take responsibility, and they will give you 95% of the time an amazing mix whenever you go to that venue. I've had countless bands say to me that the best sound experience they ever had was at Dingbats, and because I was doing sound there. And I take pride in that, because musicians, you guys have a knack for not giving compliments well. So when I get a genuine compliment from a band, I hold that close to me and I cherish that, because that really means that I really did go above and beyond for my job to make sure that you guys have a good time on stage. A good sound guy has an amazing workflow. They have an order of which they do things. They command you on stage and they guide you quickly, easily, efficiently, and above all else, they are fast with their sound check. There are a lot of sound guys I've met that take almost 45 minutes to sound check a band. And meanwhile, I sound check bands in less than 20 minutes with the same sort of instrumentation, same amount of vocals, same monitor needs, because I'm fast. And one of the comments I get all the time in my videos is, I'm impressed with how fast and efficient you are with bands. So again, comments like that and compliments like that, I cherish. Because musicians just want to do sound check and they want to be on their way and they want to go to the green room and do whatever they need to do to get ready for the show. Now, during 15, 20-minute changeovers at my venues, that is especially even tougher because you're under a clock, especially if there's a headliner that's expecting to go on at X time. It's up to you as a sound guy to navigate and dictate all the other bands so that the promoter gives you the set times and you're like, okay, band 1, you're on now and you're off at this time. Band 2, 3, and 4, so on and so forth. You know, it's really tough. A good sound guy can navigate all of that. So remember what I said before, if I were to honestly rate myself where I would place myself, I would place myself at level 3, because level 4 are unicorn sound guys. Unicorn sound guys are ones that are touring the country with any other band. I'm not talking about the sound guys that do front of house for like Metallica or Toto or any of these legendary bands that like everyone knows worldwide. Like those are creme de la creme, best of the best. Like I'm talking about local tier and semi-touring sound guys. This is what I'm talking about with this video. I'm not talking about like Dave Rat, for instance. I'm not talking about any of these sound guys that like work nationwide with the biggest bands in the world. A unicorn front of house sound guy is the guy that has a plan for everything. And their experience with going to various venues, they've done a couple little mini tours with a band, or they've gone on their first tour. And the tour is just a break from their normal gig at a venue. Chances are, if you're going to a big venue, I would say maybe the Stone Pony or Starland Ballroom here in Jersey, their front of house guys there are unicorns because they know their equipment inside and out. They know how to get the best sound out of the bands. And chances are they've all had experience being on the road with bands before. They've seen everything. They've done everything. They're experienced enough to know exactly what to do. And the reason why I haven't put myself in the unicorn, sphere yet is because I do not have that touring experience yet. I have the solid work ethic. I have the solid, experience working with many different bands. I have that experience working with bands in all shapes and sizes, genres, you name it. And I've had a couple of small mini tours that I've done sound for. The only reason why I don't put myself in that top tier unicorn trait yet is because I simply do not have enough touring experience that would give me the confidence to put myself in that unicorn phase. But as far as like local sound guys, if you come to Dingbats or Arties and you're working with me, you're going to get 95% of what a unicorn sound guy would be. Again, the only experiences I don't have are being on the road. So I feel like I have every other aspect of what makes a unicorn sound guy a unicorn sound guy. But in general, those are the 4 levels of sound guy that you'll encounter at your local venues. Now, I was going to make this into its own video, but a lot of you but I invited you guys to start giving me your sound guy sins. And, well, some of you really started to take my advice and just started posting your sound guy sins in the comment section. So I'll read a couple of those in a second, but let me tell you 2 unforgivable sound guy sins that I've encountered when I was photographing a buddy of mine's band. So there was one instance, and I'm not going to name drop the venue. By the way, if you guys want to name drop the specific sound guy and the specific venue, go for it. I don't care. I'm personally not going to, but the sound guy at a very decent sized venue, I'd say maybe 3,000 cap. My buddy's band, now the singer admittedly was pretty difficult to deal with. He was one of those singers that is going deaf and refuses to get an IEM setup. I've done sound for him a couple times at Dingbats, and even still, he would bicker back and forth, and I would eventually get something that he can work with, and it wouldn't cause feedback. He was giving that same routine to the sound guy, and sound guy was struggling, and I mean just struggling to get his monitors right, and feedback everywhere. It just wasn't a good vocal sound check. And the guy had the audacity to get on the talkback and say, "It's not my fault that you need IEMs because you're deaf." And even though he was kind of right, I was like, oh, yeah, you shouldn't say that to someone on stage who's about to perform. So needless to say, it was a bad experience for my buddy's band. He walked off, and he had shitty monitors the entire night. In that sound guy's defense, yeah, he absolutely needed IEMs. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's completely deaf in one ear, and he's half deaf in the other one. So getting monitors for him is fucking impossible. But you don't say that on the talkback where the whole fucking venue can hear you. Thankfully, this is one of those shows where we got a sound check and no one in the public was in the venue, but everyone on stage heard it. And we were all like, oh boy. The other sound guy sin that I can think of, I was doing sound for a buddy of mine's band, and not the same one as I mentioned, a different friend's band. We went to a bar, and it was a local, like, it was a local tavern. It was your local dive hangout bar. Nothing special about it. And they had a couple of speakers that they called their sound system. Their stage was a corner of the bar. So I'm like, okay, tight space. Thankfully, the band had IEMs, so we were hooking up IEMs. The band made it very clear to the bar that they're bringing me in to do sound. We're setting up, I'm doing sound check, and I always test the limits of the speakers I'm working with prior to checking a band. Also, just get a sense of how the speakers produce sound. I always play certain songs, link in the description if you want this playlist, but these are songs that I know every in and out, sort of like, I know every square inch of the mix, for lack of a better term. I know exactly how these mixes sound. And I was playing the music on the PA to test the limits of the PA to where the volume distorts, so that I know, okay, memory note here, I can't go above that volume because the speakers will distort. Noted. So I'm sound checking, I'm getting the drums. The drums are a little bit too loud and they're distorting the speakers just a tad. I quickly raise down the master, and then I hear one of the bartenders in the back. Not the bar manager, not the manager of the restaurant, but one of the bartenders who normally does sound there. He starts mouthing off, and I can hear it. Mouthing off. Guy's a fucking amateur. Look at this. Look at him distorting the speakers. And I overhear it. I'm like, okay. Getting the guitars, everything right. Guys, let's hear all the instruments, non-vocals. Band plays. I get a level for the instruments. I overhear the guy again. If this guy breaks my speakers, I'm gonna fucking kill him. I'm ignoring it because I'm there to do a job, not have a fight. So I get my singer up. And my singer actually can sing. So they're doing their thing and I'm getting their levels, whole band checks or whatnot. The guy comes up to me and has a really angry ball breaker attitude. He comes up to me and he's getting in my face and it's like, why are you breaking my fucking speakers? And I'm like, relax, I'm not breaking your speakers. I got my band well below the threshold of what these speakers can handle. They sounded fine. I looked around, I even asked the bartenders, you know, is this normal volume for you guys? And they're like, yeah, that's totally fine. And the band sounded great. So there's nothing wrong with your speakers. I'm looking at the VU meter on the speaker itself. It's far from the clipping point. Bartender again goes, it just gets in my face and is almost screaming at me at this point. Band starts coming to my defense. And I just like even aside, like, hold on, guys, I got this. So I handle myself. And I'm like, look, if they're too loud, you could just tell me that they're too loud. And he's like, well, I am telling you, they're too fucking loud. I'm like, okay, I'll bring it down. So I go over to my board. I bring the master fader down just a little bit more. He shoves me out of the way and like slams the master fader on my board down. And I'm like, oh, okay, so we're the type of person that just goes and touches people's shit. I say to him, look, I'm not coming in here shoving you off your own equipment and telling you what to do. Don't fucking tell me what to do. And the guy was like, these are my speakers. I'll tell you whatever the fuck I want to do. I'm like, okay, great. Let's get your manager in here. So I asked for the manager. We hashed it out. The bartender was excused for the night. So that was, I mean, if you even want to call that guy a sound guy, I don't know. Technically, since he runs the speakers for the bands, whatever. So those are two sins off the top of my head that I'm willing to share with you guys. I got a whole lot more, but let's read some of yours. And I invite you all to leave your sound guy sin stories in the comments. Bass Trum Ben writes, and this is a long one, guys. I became a sound engineer because I was tired of mediocre, grouchy sound guys. I remember a New Year's Eve gig where the guy wanted me on trombone to share 57 with the trumpet. First off, if I'm seeing multiple horns on the stage, I'm giving you your own mic because that's just crazy. This is in a huge casino ballroom, 6 singers, bass, drum, keys, and 2 guitars. Yeah, the guy should have multiple microphones to give you your own channel. We had a tenor sax who was mic'd, and then me on trumpet. We had a tenor sax who was mic'd, and then me and the trumpet. I was standing on the trumpet's right side, so I'd be across him. He refused to give me a mic of my own despite having one until the band leader demanded it. Good on your band leader. Then he plugged it in on the wrong side of my horn. No worries, I just moved it to the correct place for how I play. Reasonable. If I'm micing up a horn, and I put usually a 57 where I think they're going to be, and if they adjust it, I don't care. It's whatever. It's like, I don't know how you're going to move and how you're going to play on stage. So if you need to adjust it, I would appreciate if they just say, hey, can I just adjust the mic real quick? No problem. Even if they don't ask me permission to adjust the mic, I don't care. Just adjust it anyway. I just moved it to the correct place for how I play. But then he picked it up and slammed it back over to the wrong side. He was aggressive and pushy despite me trying to ask nicely. Oh boy. Also through the night, he would have a solid 15 seconds of ear-splitting feedback. Oh boy. I know it happens, but he did it probably 20 times. And it was supposedly the regular engineer for the venue. How do you be so bad at your own steady venue? Again, this guy was probably a level 2. Anywho, I realized I could start out as bad as him and then learn and grow into a much better guy, and I'd be polite unless they're being aggressive. Even then, you can be professional. And then he goes on to say how much he's enjoying being a sound guy. Yeah, good for you, dude. I became a sound guy because really by accident, I was working in my college radio station, and I was making radio promos and hosting a show there. And the band came in and asked me to record their next demos. And to quote the great Jeremy Clarkson, I was like, well, how hard can that be? And that's how I got into recording bands. That was in 2000. Oh my God. That was in roughly in 2005, 2006. So holy shit. I haven't been doing this for 18 years. I've been doing this for 20 years now. I'm so used to saying 18 years that time flies. I've been doing this for 20 years now. Oh my God. I think I need some, pension pay for this now. No, but good for you. Like, a lot of musicians that have dealt with disgruntled sound guys usually become the sound guy of the band out of spite. And the only downside about that is they don't hear outside what they may hear in their IEM. So musicians, if one of the members of your band is a sound guy or the sound guy for your band, just have them stand out on the floor where most of the audience is going to be and monitor the mix that way. And make sure that you're not blowing the guy's PA system. If the venue has a sound guy there and the venue's cool with you doing your own sound, great. Just ask, hey, is this too much, too little, whatever. And just be humble and ask, like, hey, is this mix okay for you? Just be humble about it. But if the guy's giving you an attitude, yeah, no, fuck them and do your own thing. Sousaphone Music says, played a gig once where I kept getting little shocks every time I touched a mic. Right there, that's a ground issue. That venue should plug their surge if you were plugging something into it. That's a power issue. So, sorry about that. It sucks, especially if the sound guy doesn't care or doesn't know what's causing you to be shocked. It's a grounding issue. The sound engineer tried a different XLR cable, and when that didn't work, he just shrugged, played like 2 to 3 sets, getting zapped, and no further effort was made to fix it. So again, there was one instance at Dingbats where I remember that vividly. And at Dingbats, we have a surge that's plugged into the front of the stage. And usually guitar players, they plug their pedal board into the side circuits. But for some reason, they plugged their pedal board, their Axe effects, into the front surge of the stage. And that was on the same circuit, like power circuit backstage, as the stage box. And it just wasn't clean power at Dingbats. So we fixed it. And everything is clean power now at Dingbats. But I remember that vividly, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? Because this is my first time dealing with that issue. But I did the same thing. Different XLR cable, didn't work. Because I didn't know that it wasn't an XLR issue. Then I said, okay, let me get you an extension cable, plug your board into a different outlet, different circuit. Because as soon as we unplugged it, he's like, oh, I'm not getting shocked anymore. So I'm like, okay, it's clearly the pedal board and plug it into this surge. So let me plug it directly into something else, different circuit, voila, shocking incident done. Yeah, and then of course, after that gig, I was like, okay, what circuits are each of these outlets plugged into, and fix that shit right away. Grizost 25 says, I'm looking forward to your video on sound engineers. The last gig I did, the quote sound engineer, oh boy, we already know where this is going, didn't gain stage our backing tracks or set their levels, so he almost blew the PA system, and he was nowhere to be found the entire set. It was like waiting for a bomb to go off. Even though we were tight, it sounded like shit because the backing tracks were louder than us, and the vocal mic was having feedback issues because the PA speakers were on the back wall in front of the mic. Holy shit. So not only was this venue not properly aligned as far as speakers go, if you are encountering a venue where the main PA speaker is behind you, don't even bother playing there. You're just gonna have a bad time. So make sure that the speakers are at least on the side of the stage, like in perfect alignment with the vocal mic, or out in front, and the vocal mic, if the vocal mic's here, the speaker has to be here, right? Like, you don't want the main PA to blast in front of the vocal mic, causing endless feedback issues. That's a red flag. Run away from venues like that. Yeah, not even gain staging your backing tracks, dude, like why would, like, a sound guy who doesn't care about the mix and would rather just fuck off and smoke a cigarette. I've never heard of such a thing. Super Pro Hero says, bro, first off, learn how to use paragraphs, man. Opened for a band back in the early 90s that was notorious for snorting whiskey and drinking cocaine in a really small venue. Man, this sound guy was a fucking dick. Talked to everybody like shit except for the band and small crew. Bitched the whole time during loading over the venue size arrangement. Bitching about how he had to run the snake. Bitched about that. He was a whiny McWinerson, okay? Of course, none of the attendees saw the shit show because it all happened before the doors opened. But everybody else, including the stars of the gig, were super nice guys. All these novice musicians you talk about that are learning the ropes, dudes like that particular sound guy kind of ruined the positive experience these novices picture in their mind starting out. Fact. Not that everything is all rock stars and roses, but the enjoyable experience of getting up there and showing off your craft as a novice. Okay, if you're a novice band starting out and you encounter a very grumpy, disgruntled sound guy, I've seen some musicians go like, why am I even bothering doing this? Like, it happens, man. One pretentious asshole can ruin it for these kids starting out, and as a pro touring sound man, I'm sure you constantly have to deal with numerous unfavorable situations, but they shouldn't be a pretentious prick because they found out touring wasn't fun anymore. And he goes on and treat people with respect. Yeah, dude, like, absolutely. If you're going to go to a venue and the sound guy is a pretentious asshole to you, especially if you're just starting out, yeah, it's not a good experience. So always, like, bands going in, if the sound guy is a level 1 or a level 2 and he's not really the best to work with, so long as he's not being personally aggressive towards you, be the better man, keep your head high, play, get through the show, and then agree as a band to not play that venue anymore. Or if you want to play that venue again, ask the venue manager if such and such is going to do sound, because we had a bad experience with them. Most bands don't do that. They really just fuck off and don't bother playing that venue anymore. And here's something that grumpy sound guys just don't understand. Like, if a band in the world of sound guys versus bands, the general public is going to side with the band 9 times out of 10. Just in general, because the band is a starving artist. The band are the ones that are putting their necks out there to play and perform and to put themselves out there for the public. And the sound engineering guys, is a very thankless job. The only times that we normally get talked to are by people complaining about the mix in the room. So there's a lot of things that happen that make sound guys feel disgruntled, feel unimportant, and feel grumpy, for lack of a better term. So I've had my share of moments where I myself was a grumpy sound guy. I've had plenty of instances where the band were just assholes to work with, and it shut me down and made me put in the bare minimum effort. So it goes both ways, but if you're the sound guy at a venue and you're paid by that venue to do sound there, it is your job to get the bands on stage, mix them. You are being paid to work with the bands. And if you don't like their music, if you don't like them as people, if you don't like that genre or whatever, tough shit, deal with it. And fucking work with the bands. It is your job that every band that plays on stage is able to have all the tools and mixes in their monitors and in front of house necessary to put on a good show. We're all in this together, guys. Yet, now more than ever, I feel this tension between musicians and bands and sound guys at the venues. And there's a lot of hostility there. And there shouldn't be. It should be, oh, you're this band, okay, band A, B, and C. Okay, guys, let's go over a few ground rules for tonight. Don't do this, have fun, and we'll have a good show. Please respect each other's stage time, etc., etc. And it's my job to make sure the bands are up there and they're having a good time. And you guys see me all the time in my chat room. If there's a good band up there and I'm really digging the band and the vibe, I even look at the camera, I'm like, these guys are good. You know, I give flowers where flowers are needed. And there are some times where I feel like saying some things I really shouldn't say. And we just move on to the next band or move on to the next show. It just wasn't a good night, whatever. It's up to me to make sure that they get on and off the stage on time and make sure that they have everything they need to perform. And if I can't do that, or I can't be bothered to maintain some level of standards, then I shouldn't be doing this. And if you, as a disgruntled sound guy, if you're not doing your job and you're not putting in at least the bare minimum of what you should be doing, get the fuck off the board. And venue, call me if you need another sound guy. So that's it for this one. I can't wait to hear your guys' sound guy sins. Leave them in the comments. Feel free to name drop the sound guy. Feel free to name drop the venue. And let's enter this dangerous territory together, because as much as I have harped on bad musicians, it's now time for my fellow sound guys to be put in the barrel. So let them rip. Let's hear your sound guy stories. And if I get a couple good ones, I'll make another video discussing this. So yeah, that's it. Have a good one. Bye.